In this video, we're going to talk about the European Accessibility Act and how it applies to digital documents. Welcome to the Accessibility Guide channel. My name is Sean Jordison, and let's jump into the ring. Now, the European Accessibility Act, adopted in 2019, is an EU-wide directive that establishes the minimum requirements for digital accessibility. The scope includes online commerce or e-commerce, banking services, electronic communication services, passenger transport services, self-service terminals, services for audiovisual media, and many more. But my goal for today is to tell you how it applies to documents specifically, as there seems to be not a whole lot of information out there on the web about whether or not it actually applies to PDFs. Now, it's important to note that the directive itself doesn't explicitly list every document type. However, it covers them as part of the services enumerated. For instance, the EAA explicitly calls out ebooks as a covered service, which means digital publications, whether in EPUB, PDF, or other formats, must be accessible. And more generally, any informational material or documents provided by an in-scope service, let's say a user manual PDF for an e-commerce site or a downloadable bank statement, or an invoice emailed as a PDF, all fall under the EAA. To put it simply, an accessible website is not the only thing you have to do. PDFs also fall under the EAA, under the all digital content. And it closes a common gap by ensuring that all supporting documents and media are as accessible as the platforms that host them. The EAA's requirements are built on the principles of universal design, meaning barriers should be removed by design and not via special adaptation. What it boils down to is that your documents need to be perceivable, operable, robust, and understandable to users with disabilities. The same core principles is outlined under the WCAG, or Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. Now, the Act itself references WCAG throughout, and it also mentions PDF UA. So it is my recommendation that if you fall under the EAA, your documents should meet either the WCAG 2.1 AA standards or the PDF UA, or Universal Accessibility Standards. The EAA mandates that the same level of accessibility for PDFs and documents is expected as for websites. They should be usable with assistive technologies like screen readers, screen magnifiers, switch controls without barriers. Now, it's expected that the EN 301549, the EU standard for ICT accessibility, is expected to serve as the reference or the guidelines for the EAA requirements. This standard directly incorporates the WCAG 2.1 AA success criteria for web content and extends them to non-web documents and software. Under EN 301549, electronic documents are required to be accessible in the same way as web pages. PDF UA is referenced as best practice for fulfilling these requirements in PDF format. Many organizations are therefore updating their document workflows to ensure that PDFs are generated or remediated to meet PDF UA compliance, which in turn aligns with the EAA obligations. And just to be clear, any PDF that meets the EAA requirements will not look any different than it currently does. It simply will be made accessible for users who are using assistive technology. What I find interesting is that most of the research that I could find points to PDF UA as being the default standards for any PDF to meet the EAA requirements. If you want to find out how to make your documents accessible, I have a ton of videos on this channel, or you can simply reach out to me and I'll totally do it for you. And as always, I could be your champion for inclusion. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time.